Well, hello everybody, I am JayLeonardJ, and today we are checking out the Compressor Mark II by Empress Effects. Well, ladies and gentlemen, coming in hot from Canada is the sequel to one of my all-time favorite compressors. I actually remember saving up for the original one and being so excited to get it in the mail. This is the Compressor Mark II by Empress Effects. Now, this is a very, very powerful compressor. It's almost like having a studio compressor at your feet. It did add a couple things compared to the original model. It's a lot smaller. The LED display is a lot easier to read, and they added a sidechain high-pass filter to it as well, which is great for you bass players out there. There's also a sidechain on the top if you want to get creative, and a tilt EQ knob, which they also added, which is great for getting a little bit more brightness when you're getting really, really squishy with this thing. A lot of really cool sounds in this pedal, and it's a lot of fun to tweak with. I'm gonna get a Fender Telecaster with my J.M.A signature pickups by Tone Specific and String Joy strings. I'm plugging it into a Tone King Imperial, and let's just play around with some of the settings, try a couple cool things, and see what we can do with this tiny little box. Well, we're all wired up and ready to go. Here's a good starting off point with you. You're gonna hear that squeeze, 4:1 ratio. I have no clean in the tone, so this is just full on compression. There's a center detent to tell me when the tone is neutral, so that's where I have it. Medium attack, quick release, and about maybe 8 dBs of gain reduction. Let's hear what that does to my sound. This is just the guitar and the amp. And this is the Compressor Mark II. So very, very percussive kind of stuff, and you can hear all those little inflections I'm doing in my pick. Now I have the release really quick because I'm doing these really nice articulate stuff, and I want the compressor to have time to catch onto those little transients. Now, if I open up the attack a little bit, I make it a little bit slower, it's gonna sound a little bit more punchier, a little bit more in your face and bright. Now, if I go the other way and I go for a quicker attack, it's gonna make everything sound more smooth and even, nice for arpeggios. Now, if we go into the ratio, I could go down to 2:1, and that means it's not doing too much of a cut when I'm going over that threshold. A little bit more of a natural kind of sound to my compression, and very good for that more transparent sound. Really nice. Now let's get some of that sustain going on. Now a 10-to-1 ratio is really in your face, and it's a lot of compression. I could raise up the release, keep the attack really high, and you'll notice it's very squishy. Now, that sounds a little too squished out. But what I can do is I could take the mix in there and get the initial transient of my sound. So now the attack sounds very natural, but I get to sustain at the end to make the notes carry on. Because of the tweakability of this pedal and the fact that it's very transparent, there's actually a lot of uses and instruments you could use with it outside of electric guitar. You can use it with keyboards. Basses are fantastic with it. Right now I have this nylon string Martin acoustic right now, and you can see there's some little things on board to make tweaking in your sound a lot easier with other types of instruments. One of them being the side chain high pass filter. Now, this doesn't affect the sound you hear. What it affects is how much low end is going into the compression detection circuit. So if you have like a low B on a bass, you're not going to overly trigger that compression. There's a lot of bass in this, so I actually have it knocked out at about 120 hertz. The next thing we have is an onboard tone control. Now, it actually cuts bass and raises treble as I go up and does the opposite as I go down. And again, because this is a very bassy instrument, I like to crank it up for a little bit more clarity. So let's hear what it does to my sound. This is just the guitar on its own. And this is the Empress Compressor MkII. One thing that really brings that studio expandability into this pedal is the sidechain input, which is actually right here at the top of the pedal. With all of that, you can get some really interesting ducking effects with this pedal, as well as, say, hook it up to a kick drum, so every time the kick comes in, you get a really nice pumping effect. Here's something really interesting I did. Check this out. I got my, my metronome on my iPad at a brisk 129 BPM. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug that into the side chain of the compressor. So you can actually see the metronome hitting that pedal, and all of a sudden, I have myself a really cool tremolo pedal. Check this out. Well, that is it. That is the video. Thank you all so much for watching. Please subscribe to the page if you haven't done so already. Check out the links in the description below. And if you want to hear my review on this pedal or hear my thoughts on this one versus the original model, please check it out on Patreon. That's where I do all my reviews, sponsored by the Patreon supporters. All my demos and tutorials, everything else is right here on YouTube. My question for the subscribers today is, when it comes to compressors, do you like having all the knobs on it, ratio and attack, release, or are you the kind that just wants the old school 2-knob MXR style compressor? Please write it down in the comments section below. That being said, I'll see you all soon. Take care and goodbye.